Why hello there my fellow viewer, welcome back to another review, where this time we'll be reviewing a very small obscure show. A word here that means it's very small, Tyler. A show I doubt many of you know, it goes by the name of... Alright, enough with the fun. The fun is over. Let's talk about Invincible's 4th season. It's a pretty good season, packed with a lot of interesting storylines, impactful developments, and somewhat intriguing fight scenes. And instead of compiling all my thoughts into a small review, I instead going to review each episode of this season, praising it for its pros, while also pointing out some cons that I don't like or think weaken the season just a bit. Before we start, I think it's very important to warn you all, if you haven't seen the season yet or the show itself, then I highly recommend you do before watching the rest of this review. With that being said, let's begin our review of all the episodes of Invincible's 4th season. Episode 1 of Season 4 is by far a pretty good episode. It starts off with telling us where the characters are mentally, how they're dealing with what happened with Season 3, with the Invincible War, and the Conquest fight. And I will say it does a pretty good job. It shows us that Mark is still dealing with the trauma of fighting Conquest, and is slowly struggling getting public's favor as people started to dislike him, not trust him after the whole Invincible War shenanigan, which honestly adds more to Mark's arc as he spent the last 2 seasons trying to not become like his father, trying so hard to not let people be afraid of him, but now unfortunately he has failed with that as people start to not trust him anymore and rely on him. Eve as well is going through some stuff herself, as early on her powers are starting to act really strange and weird, which hints at a very interesting twist later on. Wink wink. Oliver is just as the same, but he has matured now, going from the fucking Homelander child to, oh, he's okay. For now. And we do get introduced to new characters such as Dino Dude and She-Hulk Electra type. And I will say, I did not like them being in this episode. Now, I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying that their introduction felt rushed. First things first, Dino Guy is okay, but I will say his design is, yikes, very underwhelming. He looks like a cartoony version of a dinosaur. If you were to compare this with the comics version, you will see a massive difference. Like, look at that comic. It's so well drawn. The details are insane. The shading, like everything about this drawing is just mwah, amazing. Then you have the show. I'm sorry, isn't this show, made with Amazon? The billion-dollar company? You're telling me you didn't have enough money to hire some artist who can draw a fucking dinosaur? Terrific, guys. Really terrific. The fight scene with Dino Guy was also really static. It just didn't stick as well. It's an action show. The whole, drawn to Invincible is just amazing action fight scenes. And this one was not it. It was just very bland, static, and just not that hype. But I will say, it did give us one very important scene, and that is this scene with Mark.
Oh God! Please don't hurt me, please! It's not my fault! What just happened? Where's the dinosaur? It's me! Man, it's me! But can someone help me? What are you talking about? It takes over! I wake up and it's done all this horrible stuff! It's killing people! You gotta help me! Come on, man! I said it wasn't my fault! Please, it takes over! It takes over! Invincible!
This shows us that Mark is this close to crossing his line, cross his moral code. As before, when he killed Conquest, it was still in self-defense. He had a right to do that. But here, he already dealt with the situation. Dino Guy is not a problem anymore, but he was this close to snapping his neck, which is, honestly foreshadows what's gonna happen next in this episode. Now for She-Hulk. She's there, I guess. I mean, she just comes out of nowhere and we're supposed to be like, oh, okay. Not that very fond of her. I will say her design is very stellar, but it looks like she's from a completely different show. Like, she looks like she's from Dungeons and Dragons, not... I will say her scene with Mark is very interesting as we get this right here.
Thank you! Listen, lady, I don't know who you are or what you want, but this is over. My people are dying without this energy! Yeah, but you're killing these people to get it. How does that make sense?
This honestly reminds me of the trolley problem. It's a really interesting ethical test where it asks you, are you gonna let one person die for the sake of 5 people? Anyways, after a very generic fight scene with She-Hulk electric type, Cecil comes in to tell Mark, hey, we need you at the Segwit fight. And then we get the infamous scene with Mark.
Dome integrity at 1%. We're seconds from collapse. I'm sorry.
This right here is phenomenal writing. Throughout the whole course of the first 3 seasons, Mark has tried so hard not to cross his line of killing people. But here, Mark killed a man who was possessed against his will, who was forced to do the bidding of some evil alien race. He had no choice in the matter. He was just an innocent man who could have been saved, but because time was very limited, Mark had no choice but to kill him, which is a really good nod to the conversation he had with She-Hulk Electric type, where he says this.
My people are dying without this energy.
Yeah, but you're killing these people to get it. How does that make sense?
Mark was willing to kill one guy to save the lives of billions. And this honestly continues on with the next episode, and it's really, really done well. I mean, it does make Mark look like a hypocrite, but you know, it's understandable given his circumstances why he did it. So yeah, episode 1 gets a 7 out of 10 from me. Good character development, a nice introduction back to the show, and honestly, really strong writing. It just lacks in the, I guess, animation department where the fight scenes felt generic or static, and the introduction to Dino Guy and She-Hulk Electric type could have been much better in my opinion, but overall episode 1 was pretty damn good. Season 4, Episode 2 is a better episode than Episode 1, as it's more funnier, it's more action-packed, and honestly, it has more character work for Nolan than Episode 1 for Mark. But that's just my opinion, so let's dive into why I like this episode so much. This episode gives us a small glimpse into the Viltrum Empire back into its prime days, seeing how they operated, like, for example, the fact that you can beat the shit out of your own child when he turns into an adult. That sounds like my birthday now that I think about it. It honestly gives a lot more retextualization to Nolan's whole mission in season 1. So it turns out we find out the reason why Nolan went to Earth in the first place is to repopulate his race after billions of his people died to the Scourge virus. So in the wise words of Alan, they were going to
bang your way across the galaxy, looking for someone your people could make babies with?
We didn't put it like that.
Oh no?
This episode really shows us how Nolan struggles a lot with letting go of his culture and his basically way of thinking. For so long, Nolan was just a Viltrum soldier who conquered planets, who did everything to serve the Empire. But now, he's no longer that man anymore, as he's changed by a lot. He is now a hero. He is now a father. He is now a husband. He is now a man on his path to becoming a better person. And we see this when he's apologizing to a bunch of aliens that he has wronged, like Alien Racer and the whatever these guys are called, I forgot their names. And surprisingly, they accept his apology because the fact that a Viltrumite is apologizing to them is outstanding. It's like Hitler inviting the Jews for a brisket. And we do see Nolan struggling with the idea of basically helping destroying his people. Sure, his people are causing a lot of suffering across the galaxy, but they're still his people, his home, his culture, and the fact that he's basically supplying an entire planet with weapons that can basically lead to their extinction is just heartbreaking to him. Sure, they're bad, but at the same time, they're still his people. I really like Nolan's development throughout this entire show. He started off as a typical evil Superman villain, who, by the way, is done really well in season 1, but then he slowly changed. He overcomes his Viltrum upbringing and slowly embraces his human side. And it's why Omni-Man is one of the most well-written characters and well-beloved in the fandom, because he is a good case on how you can do proper redemption for antagonist. Sure, you could say that it's not going to be easy for him. He has to basically do a lot more to earn the trust and the forgiveness from the people he has wronged, which will take him a while, but the fact that he's willing to do it says a lot about him. Also, I like what they did with Thaddeus in this episode. But in this episode, it really gives you a different perspective on him, as it's revealed that he was the one who made the Scourge virus and tried to kill his people. It really adds another layer to him, as Thaddeus was ruthless enough to commit a genocide to stop billions more of happening. Because in his mind, as long as the Viltrumites still exist, then the galaxy is never safe. So yeah, episode 2 is really strong. It gives us good character work with Lolan. It adds more to Thaddeus' character and shows us how far he is willing to go to basically end the Viltrum Empire. And Alan, as always, is entertaining, funny, and brings a lot to the table. Let's move on to the next episode. Season 4, Episode 3. It's pretty damn good. It brought us back Titan, who I do find as an interesting character. He's smart, calculating, and knows how to play his cards. And he's also pretty damn funny.
It's some bullshit. This is still some bullshit. This was some bullshit when Invincible did it, and it's even more bullshit now.
We also got the return of...
Guess who's back? Back again.
God bless you, Machine Head. Every time Machine Head is in the scene, he's just funny. He adds a lot more comedic value to every episode he's in. In this episode, Titan is being told that Mr. Leyu, who is the dragon guy, is going after Titan for pretty much backstabbing him. In this episode, we see how Titan is pretty much like Mark in some way, as he does care about his family a lot and is willing to put himself in the line to protect them. We also got a nice little parallel with Titan and Mark in this very scene right here.
With my
Very interesting. It shows how similar these characters are, but at the same time they're completely different. We pick up where we left off with Mark in episode 1, where he has to deal with the trauma of killing Russ. Mark had to kill Russ because, well, the barriers were about to collapse, the Sequoids were about to be unleashed to the planet, so he had no choice but to kill the host. But at the same time, Russ was an innocent guy. He was just a poor third party that did not want to be a part of this whole conflict, but unfortunately he was forced against his will. And Cecil does tell Mark this, that hey, what you did wasn't bad, you had no choice. Mark doesn't think that. He thinks what he did was pretty fucked up. And as if Mark's mood can't get any much worse, Sinclair comes in. Now Sinclair did want to apologize to Mark, and Mark of course rejected him. We also got to see more with Eve, as her powers are still not acting right. She's of course mentally distraught, and for once, for the love of everything, Eve actually gets somewhat of a focus this episode. Somewhat. Because it's still about poor old Mark. Yes, we know show. He is the main character. But I just wish we get more episodes focused on Eve and her struggles. Eve, for like majority of the show, is just Mark's therapy pillow girlfriend, where Mark will dump all his issues on her. Now I know they're both partners and they should talk to each other, yada yada. But at the same time, anytime they're in a scene together, they either have sex with each other or just talk about Mark's issues and his trauma and whatnot. I gotta say, them as a couple, while they are cute in some way, they don't have the chemistry they used to have in season 1 and 2. Because at least there, Eve was a bit more snarky to Mark, and she was teasing, you know? Like for example in the teaser in season 4. Yeah, that's right, in season 4's teaser, Eve and Mark had more chemistry than the actual show, which is funny to think about. Because all Eve is just a yes man who just listens to all his problems and tells him, hey, you okay, Pookie, you can do it. I'm not saying don't let Mark talk about his issues with Eve, that's not my problem. It's just that he always does it. Anytime we see these two together, it's always Mark dumping his issues onto Eve. And now for once, Eve is now dumping her issues onto Mark. In case we get a bit more hints that something's wrong with her powers, and we won't know what until later on. In any case, Titan is in danger. So are his family, as Leyu tries to kill him off. So Titan asked the help of Mark at first, but Mark couldn't be bothered. So instead he got Oliver, who honestly had a really change of personality. Before he used to be this guy.
Responsible with my powers. Isn't it responsible to make sure that the bad guys never hurt anyone else?
Life is precious. We don't just take it.
It's not precious. People kill each other all the time, and most people aren't even special like us. They're just normal.
But now he's actually a chill guy. Like, he notices that Titan's daughter is scared, and he casually lifts up a desk to reassure her everything will be fine because he's strong as hell and he can take care of any of the problems, for sure. So yeah, obviously Oliver is having a hard time fighting P&Z Liu. Like, I'm sorry, but look at this scene. I don't understand how a billion-dollar company like Amazon cannot be bothered to give resources to their animators to make this show look like this. For God's sake, people, this is a fanimation. Are we being that ass? A fan who has little resources can make something like this look hella hyped than the actual billion-dollar company. That is just pathetic and sad. Like, the animation errors in this season has become more noticeable than the last, and it's just really depressing. In any case, Mark comes in, he saves Oliver from danger, but by the end, he ends up snapping at Titan, almost about to kill him too.
You do not mess with my family! I was trying to save mine!
Stop. Stop. Please.
It really shows how both Mark and Oliver has changed, because Mark does not stop until Oliver tells him to, which is a different wake-up call from the last season, as Oliver was begging Mark to kill off Angstum, and this, Oliver is scared to see Mark act like this, and he's right to, because Mark has finally snapped. He's tired of people taking advantage of his family, always putting them in danger, and that when he saw Titan was the one who called Oliver to fight off Liu of all fucking people, he snapped and was about to kill him. And he reflects this with Eve as he realizes that he wanted to kill Titan and he was about to, and if it wasn't for Oliver, he would have done so. It just shows how far Mark came, going from not wanting to kill anyone to considering it to full on wanting to and not realizing when he can stop. It's understandable why Mark is scared. Like, I gotta say, his arc this season is pretty good, and I can't wait for it to see its payoff. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Liu and Titan actually got tricked by Machine Head to joining the Order because, well, they thought they would end up being dead because they were trying to kill each other. I gotta say, Machine Head might have some insane IQ levels, like, for God's sake, I think it's safe to say that he might outsmart Rick himself. In any case, let's move on to the next episode. Season 4, Episode 4. The quote-unquote worst episode in Invincible. Really? This is the worst episode in Invincible? Because it's filler? I feel like the term filler has been thrown around loosely lately, as I don't really see this episode as filler. Sure, it doesn't really focuses on the main story that much, but it still has a lot to it that doesn't really make it qualified for a filler episode. To me, a filler episode is when an episode completely wastes your time, has no character development, has no character work, has no world building, none of that. Just pure slop. Think like the whole One Piece franchise as a whole, like the whole series is basically a filler. Just like Naruto, and of course, Amphibious third season. That episode with that stupid axolotl mother is still the most wasteful and honestly pointless episode in the entire show. I don't know why they thought it was a good idea. It was just pure garbage. Anyways, back on topic. So yeah, episode 4 is not that bad. I would say it's decent, a solid 6 out of 10. Sure, it's not as good as the other 3 episodes that came before it or after, but it's not really the worst episode, it's just the weakest. So yeah, this episode continues off. We were left out in the last episode where Mark is trying to process and cope with the fact that he killed an innocent man. Yes, he did it to save the world and he had no choice, but he still feels guilty about it. Which leads gets to this nice scene where he talks to Art, which honestly, I really like how they use Art in this show. As Art pointed out, the fact that Mark is feeling guilty, feeling remorseful, and even talking to Art about this already separates him from his father. It's a really nice scene that helps pushes Mark's arc to the next level, all because Art is such a goated character. God bless Art. Aside from that, we get the surprising return of the one and only Damien Darkblood. That's right, folks, Damien Darkblood has returned. Fucking hilarious, and honestly, he's really intriguing as a character. At first in season 1, he was just a detective demon guy who has to solve the case to basically pay his debts. But now, in this episode, he's just a demon guy who is loyal to Satan himself and has to basically do everything he can to save his world from an evil volcanical bitch. Speaking of which, Volcanica, dare I say, top tier character. Her dialogue is just phenomenal. I love how she speaks. She definitely gives the vibes of an ancient evil. And her whole personality is really, just really richening. I like this character a lot, and I can't wait to see more of her in future seasons. But yeah, this episode focuses on Damien Darkblood asking Mark for help, and in this journey, we learn a lot about Mark's world, such as the fact that it was apparently the 6th age, and that there were other ages before it, which is why there are monsters roaming around Earth, which honestly explains a lot. And we do get a nice conversation between Damien and Mark, where Mark is still coping with the fact what he did to Ross back in episode 1, and Damien basically tells him that he had to do what he had to do to save the world, as always, and tells him that sometimes he had to take extra measures to ensure the world isn't thrown into complete chaos. While Mark at first disagrees with it, he later understands where Damien comes from. And we also did get some funny scenes between Damien and Mark. Other than that, this episode does have its issues. Mainly the whole vial part. Yeah, so basically, Volcanica, the main antagonist in this episode, wants to unleash the vial, who is described as if they are freed upon Earth, it's all game over. But then when you see them and...
The Vile. They've risen. Stand back. All yours.
Yeah, it's a bit underwhelming. You can't just build up something this threatening and then just have it dealt with immediately. I was expecting something more, but what do I expect? And Satan himself was also a bit underwhelming. He was kind of a joke of a character, honestly. I honestly don't know why they added him. He just felt completely pointless. And of course, this drag-out joke with the pit, which just felt like they were padding out for runtime and just tried anything they can to do that by having this long scene of them falling to the bottomless pit. It was just a really pointless scene. Sure, it was funny with the whole armor bit, but it just comes off old and just repetitive. And there was this scene where we just got cocked with Mark and Cerberus' fight. Like, seriously, you introduced Cerberus in this episode and you just cock us out of that fight? Really? Really, Amazon? Really? But yeah, aside from that, this episode is not that bad as the fandom paints it out to be. It gives us solid character work with Mark and Damien Darkblood, gives us some entertaining jokes here and there, and gives us a badass villain with a badass design, and honestly really good dialogue work. Like, still, the way how she speaks and conducts herself is really well done. And oh, of course, we have this cliffhanger with Alan and Lolan arriving to Earth to request Mark's help in the war. So you can't really skip this episode as much as you want. But yeah, overall, decent episode, just not that good as the rest, which is disappointing. And that concludes part 1 of this review. That's right, part 1. This review has been split into a 2-parter because unfortunately I am facing some technical difficulties, so I had to split this review into 2 separate parts. This is part 1, and part 2 will come out shortly or maybe months later, depending on how my life is looking, as right now I am busy with some IRL stuff and other projects I am sinking my teeth into, but hopefully part 2 will come at quick pace. That being said, I want to hear your thoughts with this season. What did you think of the first 4 episodes of season 4? Did you like it? Did you hate it? What did you think they could have improved on? What do you think they did well? And what take did you disagree with me on? Just just let me know in the comments down below. And with that being said, here are my ratings for the first 4 episodes. They're pretty solid episodes, pretty good ones for this season. Of course, episode 4 will be a bit weaker considering, well, it's not as good as the other 3, which is disappointing as I did find its premise to be very intriguing. And it is clear we're going to be getting more of this storyline much later, so can't wait for that. With that being said, thank you all for watching this review. If you wish to interact with me outside of YouTube, just follow my Twitter, linked in the description down below. With that being said, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all soon.